From giant crashing kites to mythical Yeti stuck in disco mode, Disney's Animal Kingdom has undergone some wild changes since opening day. Today, we're looking at how the park evolved from quiet trails and early controversy to floating mountains and a new land on the horizon. Welcome to Pop Culture Passport, your ultimate guide to quirky and cool destinations across the US. I'm your host, Beth Scalacci, aka the Roman Yeti, here to help you dive into the world of theme parks, uncover film and TV locations, and explore quirky museums, roadside attractions, and legendary venues that capture the heart and soul of this unique country. So grab your pop culture passport and let's discover destinations that resonate with your interest, not just with what's trending on social media. Are you ready? Let's roam! Welcome back. Today we are diving into part 2 of our Animal Kingdom adventure. In our last episode, we explored how Animal Kingdom came to life thanks to the vision of Imagineer Joe Rohde, a deep commitment to conservation, and a whole lot of world-building magic. But a park does not stay the same forever, and Animal Kingdom, well, it has had quite its own journey. So let's pick up where we left off April 22nd, 1998, which was Animal Kingdom's opening day. Now, Animal Kingdom opened with an ambitious theme and breathtaking environments, but a limited number of attractions, and this caused many guests and critics to label it a half-day park, which I have to say the reputation lingered for years, and I have to admit I was one of those people that that called it that, especially when our daughter was younger. There just wasn't a lot to keep a little kid overly busy. So, what could you experience on opening day? Well, let's take that walk through. So, the Oasis, it's that lush entry path filled with animals and plants from around the world. It just set that tone when you walked into the park. It calm. You were gonna explore, and it really was and is still like unlike any other park entrance. Then you walk into Discovery Island area, the central hub surrounding the Tree of Life. It had animal exhibits, walking trails, the infamous It's Tough to Be a Bug, and also a short-lived Discovery riverboats. I remember there was one, they didn't last long, but I remember riding on them and they were like playing Radio Disney music or something. So, like I said, they didn't last long. It would be sort of fun to have them back, but I don't think that's going to happen. In Africa, the highlight here was the Kilimanjaro Safaris. Your open air ride through the safari. You could also walk on the Pangani Forest Exploration Trail to see gorillas, meerkats, and more. There was Asia, which was planned but not open yet. But there were hints of it on the park map on opening day. And of course, there was Dino Land USA. Um, Here you had Countdown to Extinction, which we now know as Dinosaur. Um, I also had the Boneyard Playground and Restaurantosaurus. Camp Minnie and Mickey was their opening day. It was a temporary land that featured the Festival of the Lion King and character meet and greets. I have to say, I do have a lot of fun memories of character meet and greets at Camp Minnie and Mickey, especially on rainy days. It was always fun, and the characters were a little more chaotic on rainy days, but always a good time. But overall, the bones of the park were beautiful, but for thrill seekers, and again, families looking for all day entertainment, it just felt sparse. And this led to some early challenges. So, Disney expected a strong response to this park, but the reality was, well, complicated. Many people were confused. Like, was it a zoo, a nature reserve, a theme park, but with no roller coasters? Others were frustrated by the lack of shade and long walking distances. Um, there weren't many indoor or air conditioned attractions, so that summer heat quickly became a major complaint. And then there was the Kilimanjaro Safaris. In its original version, the ride included a dramatic storyline involving elephant poachers. And at one point, guests would pass the body of Big Red, a mother elephant that had been killed. Now, the intent was noble, but like seriously, it was meant to show the dangers of poaching, but guests weren't ready to see a dead animatronic elephant on vacation. Like no one wants to see Bambi in real life. Um, so they quickly reworked it, toned it down, and shifted the focus really to the excitement of animal discovery on the safari. Now, behind the scenes, Imagineers were already planning improvements, and they knew the park had potential. It just needed more, stuff to do. So, at the heart of the park, though, was and still is the tree of life, which is just absolutely breathtaking. And I stand in awe of it every time I see it. Still, after all this time, it stands 145 feet tall, and there's over 300 animal carvings on it. And it's one of the most detailed icons Disney has ever built. Now, what many guests may not know is that the tree was built around an oil rig frame, which gave it the strength to support the massive branches. And the carvings were all done by hand, and each one had to be sculpted quickly before the material dried. So artists reportedly had about 6 to 10 hours to complete each figure once the concrete was applied. Like that's insane that they're so intricate and they're so pretty, but they were like they had to be quickly done, each one of them. Inside the tree, as we said, it's tough to be a bug. A 3D show based on Bug's Life that has terrorized kids and adults until it closed earlier this year. Now, the first major expansion came in 1999, which was just a year after opening. And that's when Asia made its debut. It was anchored by the Jungle Trek, and it featured tigers and Komodo dragons and giant bats. Soon after that came the Kali River Rapids, which was it still is a white water ride designed to highlight deforestation and its impact. But the headline came in 2006 with the opening of Expedition Everest. This towering coaster was, and still is, an Imagineering masterpiece. At the time, it was the tallest of any Disney attraction, standing at 199.5 feet. Tall enough to impress, but short enough to avoid needing one of those FAA warning lights. The queue tells the story of a Himalayan expedition, complete with a museum of Yeti artifacts and folklore. And the ride itself sends guests backwards through a collapsing mountain, face to face with a terrifying creature. Or at least it was supposed to. Originally, the Yeti animatronic was one of Disney's most advanced animatronics, swiping at guests with full motion animation, but not long after opening, the foundation supporting the Yeti cracked, and the figure couldn't be operated safely in full motion. So it was switched to what they call B mode. And that's where strobe lights flash as guests fly by to give that sense of movement. Well, fans, being the icons that they are, quickly dubbed it the Disco Yeti. And despite years of speculation, it still hasn't returned to its original glory. No, apparently Joe Rohde once said that fixing it would require dismantling the entire mountain structure, which was a massive undertaking, and it hasn't happened yet. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Quick aside, the Disco Yeti was actually part of the inspiration for the Roaming Yeti name. I just always love the thought of the Disco Yeti up on the ride that I have not ridden and will not because of my motion sickness. But knowing that there's also a Yeti in the Matterhorn ride, it just seemed destined that I had to use Yeti in the name. Now, one of the other struggles, and biggest challenges for Animal Kingdom has been extending the guest experience into the evening. And because the park was originally designed with live animals in mind, there's wasn't a strong focus on nighttime activities or shows. But that started to change in 2010 timeframe when Disney began to keep the park open a little later. So they had the Rivers of Light, which this was a water and light show that was intended to be the park's answer to Fantasmic. It was I never saw it, but it seemed gorgeous, filled with glowing lotus floats and storytelling. But like again, it lacked that Disney characters involvement, and it just struggled to connect with families. Then there were nighttime safaris and Tree of Life awakenings, which offered more subtle ways to enjoy the park. These added beauty and atmosphere, but didn't always draw the biggest crowds. Now, I also want to mention, as part of the entertainment, it was not a nighttime show, but Kite Tales. And honestly, I loved the chaos of Kite Tales so much. So it was launched in 2021 during the pandemic, and it was part of Disney's 50th anniversary celebration. But it was a daytime show, and it featured these massive, they say kites, but I think of them more of like giant windsocks in the shape of Disney animals, including from The Lion King and Jungle Book, and they were pulled across the lagoon by the jet skis. So the concept was really fun. The execution was great, but what they became more well known for is how the kites would quote unquote crash. So when they were done, there was an area of the stands that people could not sit in, obviously. Um, and they would, the jet ski would go by, it would let the kites go down. But like watching these animals, these beloved Disney characters sort of crash into the stands and stuff. I don't know. It was just funny. It was ex- just chaos. The cast members had the best times with it. It was just such a cult hit. Um, but sadly they ended that I believe like 2000 2022 2023. I'm not sure of the exact date. But it was a good try. Love for them to bring it back again, but entertainment has never really been other than the shows, the Festival of the Lion King and Nemo, like the evening shows and the outdoor shows just really haven't hit great for Animal Kingdom. So, maybe next time. So, the next thing that they announced was that they were building a land theme to Avatar. And this confused a lot of fans, including this fan speaking into the microphone right now. The movie came out in 2009, and at that time, it wasn't even Disney IP. And while it was a box office hit, like it didn't have the staying power like a Star Wars or a Harry Potter or, Marvel. But when Pandora, the world of Avatar opened, a lot of doubts were vanished. Imagineers went all in on this land. Floating mountains, glowing bioluminescent plants, custom music, scents, even a fictional language created for the land. Um, Exotic foods and drinks, including the fan favorite Night Blossom drink. And when it opened, it had two rides, still has two rides, Navi River Journey, which was a peaceful boat ride through glowing rainforest, and Flight of Passage, which is a breathtaking simulator ride that lets guests fly on a banshee. Um, of course, Flights of Passage was an instant hit. It still always has a long line. It is. I wrote it once, and it's just one of those really wild things where like you're riding the banshee and you can feel it breathing beneath you, and it's very immersive. It's very cool. But this sort of shifted Animal Kingdom's reputation, and suddenly it was drawing huge crowds. And because of the bioluminescent done in that area, it was the park you wanted to stay at night to see everything lit up. So Pandora's really sort of started shifting people's perception on the park. Now, Next, we have to talk about the extinction of Dinorama and what's next. We all know because I won't stop talking about it. I promise I'm done after this episode. Dinoland USA is going away. Dinorama has already been torn down, and the rest of the land is staying open through the end of 2025 as we know it. And it's, we've said it's the most misunderstood land at Animal Kingdom because a lot of people just didn't bother embracing or even getting to learn the backstory. So the tropical Americas will replace Dinoland, and what we know now, it will include a carousel, an Encanto ride, and Indiana Jones will take over Dinosaur. It's going to have a completely new story from the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland, which I'm very excited about. Um, you know, like I said, I know, I'm going to miss Dinoland, but I'm looking forward to what the future holds for Animal Kingdom. But could we maybe get the Beastly Kingdom someday? I can always hope, I guess. But from its quiet beginnings of, is this a zoo? To the immersive heights of Pandora, Animal Kingdom has never stopped and will never stop evolving. None of the Disney parks do. That's why we love them, right? It's a park that asks more of its guests, though. It slows you down. It gives you quieter moments and it gives you reflection. And for those willing to really lean into the place, the rewards of that park are beautiful. So please keep enjoying Animal Kingdom. Now, this week's Yeti's Pop Pick is a little bit related to Animal Kingdom. It's about the Cincinnati Zoo is turning 150 years old this year. You've heard me talk about the zoo and its famous inhabitants. I love Fiona the hippo and her little brother Fritz. The zoo has been a leader in conservation, education, and social media adorableness for probably not social media for 150 years, but you know what I mean. And it's just fun watching them celebrate such a big milestone. And like I said, it's not quite Animal Kingdom, but when you're walking through that park, it gives you that slowing down, those quiet moments, that reflection. Like it's just such a beautiful park, and it gives off theme park vibes without the rides. And right now for this year, they even have a pin trading program going on to celebrate. So if you're planning to visit, check that out. It seems really cool. They have very specific monthly pins, and then you can trade with people, with employees and stuff. So check that out. Check out the zoo. Happy anniversary, Cincinnati Zoo. We love you. And with that, we add another stamp to our pop culture passport. I hope that this episode inspires you to get out and explore all that is quirky and cool, even in your own backyard. Follow, download, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Tell a friend and leave a review if you like what we're doing. It really helps the show grow. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for The Roaming Yeti. Keep roaming and finding your fun.